$81.6 billion in 90 days. That's what one company posted yesterday, and it's the smallest number in this video. 7 stories broke in the last 24 hours. A war ending. A virus killing 134 people. A capital under siege. A prosecutor indicted. An IV tradition broken. Tens of thousands of jobs gone. One quiet boardroom vote ties them all together. Stay with me. In one news cycle, 24 hours, a chip company posted an 85% revenue jump. A war moved closer to ending. A virus killed at least 134 people across a country most newsrooms can't find on a map. A South American president lost control of his capital. A Harvard tradition broke. A federal prosecutor was indicted. And tens of thousands of office workers learned their jobs were on a list. 7 stories. One window. No one connecting them. The official coverage moved fast. CNBC chased the earnings. Reuters chased the ceasefire. AP chased the outbreak. Each desk hit its beat, and none of them stepped back. So the average viewer watched 7 disconnected fires and missed the building underneath. That's how modern news actually works. The pace is the camouflage. The volume is the cover. If you slow down for 90 seconds, the seams start showing. And what you see changes how you read everything else. Here's the deal. I'll walk you through all 7, fast, in the order they actually broke. Then I'll show you the thread connecting them. The one decision, made yesterday by one company, that nobody framed as the headline. By the end, you'll see what nobody on cable said out loud. Stay with me, because the most important number you'll hear today is buried in story number 1, and almost everyone missed it. Story 1. NVIDIA reported earnings yesterday. Revenue, $81.6 billion in a single quarter, up 85% from a year ago. Data center revenue alone hit $75.2 billion. The board authorized $80 billion in new buybacks and hiked the quarterly dividend from 1 cent to 25 cents, a 25-fold jump. The stock barely moved. Why? Because guidance was $91 billion next quarter, and the bar is now so high that even biblical growth gets shrugged off. Story 2. Iran. The U.S. president said the war is, quote, in the final stages, and that he'll wait a couple of days for a response to Washington's latest proposal. Sources describe a 1-page memo, a nuclear enrichment moratorium, sanctions lifted, frozen Iranian funds released, the Strait of Hormuz reopened. The closest the two sides have been since the war began. Oil punched up to $102 on the headline. And that's not even the strangest part. Story 3. The World Health Organization is alarmed by a rare strain of Ebola spreading in the Democratic Republic of Congo. At least 134 suspected deaths. More than 500 confirmed cases. A senior WHO official called the speed concerning. It hit cable news for roughly 4 minutes. Then it vanished under the NVIDIA print. 500 cases in a region with almost no surveillance infrastructure is not a footnote. It's an early warning system everyone agreed to ignore. Story 4. Bolivia. Less than 6 months after taking office, President Rodrigo Paz is watching his political capital go under siege. Protests, blockades, roads cut. A government that hasn't finished printing its letterhead is suddenly fighting for survival. Latin America's lithium triangle just got more unstable, and lithium, in case you forgot, is what powers the batteries inside everything those NVIDIA chips control. But wait until you see what happened next. Story 5. A former Department of Justice prosecutor was indicted yesterday, accused of stealing confidential documents from the Jack Smith investigation and emailing them to her personal account. Obstruction. Concealment. The case lands in the middle of the most polarized legal climate in modern American memory. It didn't lead a single primetime broadcast. It got eaten by a chip stock and an oil headline. The institution charged with safeguarding secrets just lost one of its own. Story 6. Harvard faculty voted to cap grades at 20% of students starting in the 2027 academic year. 40 years of grade inflation undone in one meeting. The school where 79% of grades were A's last cycle just blinked. Why does this matter outside Cambridge? Because every elite institution copies Harvard within 5 years. The signal value of an Ivy League transcript is about to reset for an entire generation of hiring managers. Story 7. Intuit, the company behind TurboTax and QuickBooks, announced cuts of 17% of its workforce. The stock dropped 15% in hours. Walmart warned that higher fuel costs could hurt its earnings. Meta has already moved 7,000 employees into AI-focused groups, with more reductions expected later this year. This is not a layoff cycle. It's a redistribution. Humans out. Models in. The white-collar worker as a category is being rewritten in real time. Here's where it gets really interesting. Now look at all 7 side by side. A chip company breaking earnings. A war ending. A virus spreading. A government collapsing. A prosecutor charged. An Ivy capping grades. Tens of thousands losing their jobs. They look unrelated. They aren't. Pull back one step, and they are all the same story told 7 different ways. Each one is an institution losing the ability to control what used to be entirely its territory. NVIDIA is taking territory from every chip rival on Earth. The Iran deal, if it closes, strips the Pentagon's leverage in the Persian Gulf. The Ebola outbreak exposes the WHO's blind spots. Bolivia's protests show how fast a new government's authority can evaporate. The Trump documents indictment asks whether the DOJ can even keep its own files. Harvard's vote admits the Ivy League cannot control its own grading. And Intuit shows that white-collar work has lost its floor. The pattern is institutional erosion. Every old gatekeeper, central banks, universities, regulatory agencies, employers, prosecutors, is losing power at roughly the same speed that one new player is gaining it. That new player runs on chips. Specifically, the chips NVIDIA just printed $81.6 billion selling in 90 days. The story under the 7 stories is that compute itself is now the institution that matters. And it is being concentrated, not distributed. The press cannot say this clearly because each desk only sees its slice. The markets desk sees NVIDIA. The foreign desk sees Iran. The health desk sees Ebola. The seam between them is invisible from inside the newsroom. But from outside, the seam is the entire story. The institutions on screen are not just having a bad week. They are being quietly replaced. The transition itself is the headline. And nobody framed it that way. So who actually benefits? Start at the top. A single chip company just authorized $80 billion to buy back its own shares. That is not a company hedging. That is a company that knows it has nothing better to spend the cash on than reducing the supply of itself. When the dominant supplier of the era's most important input becomes its own best customer, you are watching market power crystallize in real time. Next layer. The funds and family offices already positioned in compute and energy infrastructure. Descartes raised $300 million yesterday at a $4 billion valuation, with NVIDIA participating in the round. Saudi Arabia is pouring billions more into compute capacity. The smart capital is not undecided. It already knows which institutions are winning and which are being hollowed out. Retail investors, watching cable news, are still trying to parse 7 separate stories. The smart money parsed it months ago, and the final beneficiary is the noise itself. As long as you watch 7 fires instead of 1 demolition, you stay reactive. You stay scrolling. You stay buying whatever the algorithm serves you next. The chaos is not a side effect of the news cycle. The chaos is the product. That is the part nobody on a cable panel will ever say out loud, because saying it is biting the hand that feeds them. Now what do you actually do with this? First, slow down. 7 stories in a single news day is not a fact about reality. It is a fact about how the feed is engineered. The volume is calibrated to overwhelm your judgment. The fix is mechanical. Read the headline. Wait 1 full hour. See if it survives the next cycle. Most won't. The ones that do are the ones to actually think about. 3 rules. Almost no one applies them. That alone is your edge. Second, ask 1 question on every story. Who profits from me believing this matters more than something else? Apply that to the 7 you just heard. Apply it to the next 7. Once you start, you cannot stop. The pattern shows up everywhere. The world did not change in 24 hours. The way you read it just did. But before you go, there is one more thing I promised you at the very beginning. Remember the one decision I teased at the start? It happened yesterday afternoon, in a quiet boardroom, before any of these 7 headlines ever hit. The NVIDIA board authorized an additional $80 billion in share buybacks and raised the dividend 25-fold. 1 vote. Technical, buried in a press release, is the single act that explains why all 7 stories landed the way they did. Tell me in the comments which one you hadn't heard about. That's the one they didn't want you to see. What do you think? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this, smash that like button. See you in the next video.